咁好啦，咁講翻我哋嘅今日嗰個webinar 買樓嗰個情況係點樣咧？喺英國買樓，咁呢個咧係一個好即係一個 summary，一個買樓嘅流程喺英國會係點樣咧？咁第一步就係啦，確認你嘅預算，你嘅 budget 係啦，你嘅資金咁樣，咁究竟你係一個即係資金好充裕嘅cash buyer 現金買家，定係你需要借一個申請一個借貸嘅服務咧咁樣。咁預算好之後咧，咁我哋咧就會係即係當然去睇樓啦，去即係睇下想買邊一類型嘅屋啦咁樣。咁之後咧就會係即係睇完屋啦，如果啱啦，咁咧就會同經紀啊或者個業主去即係講你願意出幾多價錢去買啦，即係可能有冇一個議價嘅空間啊咁樣啦。咁如果個業主話 OK 咯喎，即係佢 OK 接受你嘅價錢賣層樓俾你啦，咁咧下一步咧你就需要揾律師，咁律師咧就需要即係雙方咧賣家賣家都需要即係有個律師去幫佢哋之後一啲文件啦，一啲法律上嘅程序啊咁樣嘅。咁 OK 揾咗律師之後咧，咁下一步咧就可能即係要揾個 surveyor 啦，做一個即係物業嘅測量啊咁樣。咁之後咧就係律師處理晒文件，咁做完 survey 冇問題咧，咁咧都要咧大家咧就係你會即係叫做即係大家同意一個咧成交嘅日期，交換合約嘅日期咁樣嘅。咁如果成個交易係完成之後咧，咁當然就可以直接攞鎖匙入住啦。咁最後一步咧就係如果即係經我哋公司買樓咧，咁其實咧我哋都會提供一個咧即係入伙後一個2個星期嘅支援嘅服務嘅。咁好啦，咁我哋逐步咁樣去即係詳細咁樣去講解下啦。咁咧第一步咧就係預算你嘅資金係啦。咁確認個預算咧，咁當然啦就係睇翻你哋自己手頭上嗰個即係 budget 有幾多啦。咁除咗話買樓嗰個樓價之外咧，其實咧都有其他嘅一啲雜項咧，你係需要即係預翻個 budget 咧去俾嘅。例如，譬如第一個就係個 stamp duty。係啦，咁我諗喺香港同英國買樓一樣啦，都需要俾一個稅嘅。咁喺英國咧係需要俾一個即係印花稅啦 （stamp duty） 啦。咁呢樣嘢咧，亦都會牽涉到究竟你係咪一個 first time buyer，定係你已經係之前買過物業啊咁樣。咁何為一個 first time buyer 咧？咁咧其實咧佢個定義咧就係你喺呢個世界、呢個地球上，如果你曾經買過一個物業嘅話咧，咁咧你已經係算係一個 first time buyer 噶啦。咁有啲人話Winnie，我喺香港買過一個物業，咁但係已經賣咗出去㗎啦。咁我算唔算 first time buyer 咧？咁就喺佢哋嘅定義上咧就唔算㗎啦，因為你曾經買過一個物業，咁所以咧你就唔係一個 first time buyer。咁佢哋咧如果 first time buyer 咧就稅務上會有少少優惠啦，係啦。咁如果譬如即係。我哋公司咧，通常咧都會話翻俾你聽，如果你買即係嗰個物業，大概你需要交嘅印花稅係幾多啦？咁另外就係律師啦，咁你即係聘請你嘅律師幫你做嘢，咁你都需要俾翻一啲律師費啦。咁另外就係物業測量啦，就係個 survey。咁 survey 嗰度咧就係啦，你都要即係視乎你做邊一個類型嘅survey啦，咁就會收取即係唔同嘅費用啊咁樣啦。咁最後一樣就係裝修啦，咁裝修就即係。可多可少啦，咁就因人而異啦。咁但係即係總括嚟講咧，即係除咗預算你嗰個物業嗰個價錢之外咧，咁其實都有其他呢啲雜項嘅嘢咧，你係需要留意去即係預備一啲資金啊咁樣嘅。咁另外就話資金嘅安排啦，咁即係可能好多香港人喺香港都有一啲譬如投資啊、物業又好、股票又好，咁都想睇翻究竟即係我應該幾時將啲錢即係入嚟英國啊咁樣，咁呢個 planning 咧都係好緊要嘅。咁如果尤其是啦，即係英國嘅稅務比較繁複啦，咁如果有需要嘅咧，咁其實亦都可以即係揾我哋啦，我哋有一個即係註冊嘅稅務師，講廣東話嘅註冊稅務師可以幫手嘅，係啦，咁可以即係做一個好啲嘅planning 啦，係啦。咁另外咧就係究竟係mortgage 你需要做 mortgage 定係你唔係嘅，你係即係有足夠嘅現金去 cash buy 啊咁樣。咁如果即係做 mortgage 嘅話咧，咁其實咧你需要揾翻你嗰個 銀行啦，或者你嗰個按揭嘅公司啦，咁佢就會提供一個 mortgage in principle 俾你，咁你係需要有呢一個咧，係證明你有足夠嘅即係銀行係可以有咁嘅approve 借貸俾你嘅，咁你先可以真係即係去睇樓啊，俾錢即係買樓啊咁樣嘅。咁如果 cash buyer 咧，咁就簡單啲啦，咁就即係證明你即係你需要即係可能提供你銀行嘅存款啊，或者你係透過買樓嗰個資金翻嚟嘅，咁你到時就需要提供有關嘅資料啦，咁樣。咁好啦，咁預備咗budget之後咯喎，咁咧就需要咧去睇翻究竟我想喺邊度買樓，買咩樓咁樣啦。咁其實有幾樣嘢都需要即係考慮啦。第一樣就係嗰個地點嘅選擇啦。咁樓價啦，係啦，咁樓價雖然普遍上英國嘅樓價好似比香港平啦，咁但係其實即係我諗大家都知道啦，即係譬如越近 London 嗰啲樓價咧，其實就越高嘅，係啦。咁如果再北少少或者中部少少咧，啲樓價就會就相對地係即係低少少啦咁樣。咁所以咧就會因應自己嘅 budget 去睇翻唔同地區啦，係啦。咁另外校網啦，因為好多家庭都係即係帶埋小朋友一齊嚟啦，咁就會即係我諗家長都係好想揾一間即係適合自己嘅子女嘅學校啦，揾間好嘅學校啦，咁就會睇好多唔同嘅資訊啦，睇下邊個 catchment 啦，即係係會入到呢間學校啊咁，所以校網又係另外一個即係選擇，即係影響你哋選擇嗰個即係地點啦。咁治安啦，咁治安其實都係頭一二位㗎啦，咁即係嚟咗一個新嘅環境，咁都係想即係安居樂業啦，咁都係想揾一個地方真係治安好嘅，住得舒服嘅，去即係長期居住啦。咁另外就係工作機會啦，咁即係小朋友讀書揾學校之外，咁其實咧好多大人咧，其實嚟到英國 settle down 之後咧，佢哋都會揾嘢做嘅。咁都會睇翻究竟我住嗰度其實俾我嘅工作機會大唔大咧？如果我香港做開某一類型嘅職業，咁其實如果揀個區會唔會即係嗰類型嘅職業嘅工作個工種會唔會多咧？咁樣咁又或者有啲唔係嘅，我冇乜所謂嘅，咁我嚟到都係即係體驗下啦，我做咩都冇所謂嘅咁呢個都會影響到你哋即係去邊度揀，即係揾你哋即係搞間屋啦咁樣。咁最尾就係氣候啦，咁因為始終英國嘅天氣咧都會比香港係真係凍嘅。咁好多譬如尤其是有老人家啦咁樣，咁可能都會揀翻一啲咧南部啲嘅地方，因為南部啲嘅地方咧其實咧嗰個天氣咧相對地咧係比較暖啲啦咁樣，咁即係可能同埋嗰個太陽啦，即係日光啦，嗰個時間又會多啲咁樣，咁所以呢幾樣嘢咧都會影響咗你哋即係選揀屋嘅地點啦。咁另外啦，除咗地點之外咧，咁新樓同舊樓咧都係即係好多人香港去即係去諗嘅，咁就冇話新樓好定係舊樓好嘅，咁總之就係揀一間即係啱自己住嘅屋就即係係啦，即係冇乜所謂嘅。咁當然啦，咁新樓舊樓咧，其實咧都有啲要考慮嘅因素啦，就係個地區啦。咁因為始終舊樓咧，佢哋係喺一啲即係已發展嘅地方，佢哋已經即係 develop 咗，咁就咁所以咧舊樓通常咧就會比較嗰個交通網絡同埋個社區個設施會比較完善啲嘅，係啦。咁就而一啲新樓咧，佢哋咧就會可能真係本身嗰個土地已經發展得即係相當即係冇乜一啲新嘅土地咁佢哋通常就會去外邊去一啲新樓啦，即係好似香港咁樣啦。當你中環尖沙咀嗰啲已發展咗啦，咁你就個城市就會慢慢向外咁樣去伸延去到天水圍屯門咁樣。咁英國都一樣嘅，係啦。咁所以咧新樓咧有可能咧就會遠少少，咁但係都唔會話太遠咧，可能有啲譬如10分鐘20分鐘車已經去到 town centre 咁樣。咁另外就係個面積啦，咁個面積咧其實確實嘅喺英國嘅舊樓咧嗰個面積咧係相對大啲嘅，係啦。咁我諗咧好似香港咁樣，即係香港嘅新樓咧都係相對地細啲嘅，有啲納米樓咁樣，咁啲舊樓都係會大啲。咁喺英國都一樣。咁除咗譬如屋入邊嗰個佔用嗰個即係實用面積啦，咁其實前後花園啦都係相對地咧都會係比新樓咧係大嘅。 係啦。咁另外裝修啦，咁裝修就係啦，如果新樓舊樓咧，咁其實好簡單啦。新樓就係佢真係啱啱新起嘅，咁入邊好多嘢咧都係即係全新嘅。係啦，你簡單啲就係即係攞個喼買少少家私，你就可以入去住噶啦，係咁就即係省卻咗一啲即係裝修嘅時間啦。咁但係咧，舊樓咧，咁有啲朋友又即係中意舊樓喎，咁佢就即係可能唔介意真係啊，即係揾師傅去裝修啊，即係有充足嘅時間啊咁樣啦。咁所以呢方面咧，即係裝修亦都係啦，即係新樓同舊樓會有啲分別啦。咁另外就係時間上嘅安排啦。咁點解時間上安排咧？就係新樓咧，基本上咧，其實喺個控制時間上咧，可能會比舊樓好少少嘅。點解會咁講咧？就係因為新樓咧，其實咧好多時咧，佢都係一啲已經起好或者佢起緊嘅屋，咁你知道佢大概會幾時落成，幾時可以入住嘅，係啦。咁嗰個時間控制會比較好啲。咁但係舊樓咧，好視乎咧，你係買嗰間屋咧有冇清啊？咁我諗有啲朋友仔都會聽過啊，咩叫清啊、清 free 啊咁樣，即係清 free 啊咁樣。咁其實清咧就係話簡單啲嚟講，就係你買嗰個物業，究竟佢本身嗰個屋主佢係咪已經搬走咗嘅？佢係咪需要你賣咗層樓，攞咗你嘅資金，佢先可以買另外一個物業搬走？離開咗你先可以入住咧咁而又牽涉到咧，如果佢買嗰個物業咧，對方咧會唔會又係即係要賣咗層樓，收咗嚿錢佢先可以搬走咧咁就衍生咗一條即係我哋所謂嘅 chain。係啦，咁呢個咧亦都會即係有可能即係未必咁容易控制啦。即係如果真係有 chain 嘅，我聽過可能要即係最快可能3個月啦，最耐嘅可能係9個月啊，甚至乎1年啊不等啊咁樣。咁有啲咧係冇 chain 嘅意思咧，即係話個業主已經搬開咗啦，離開咗嗰個物業㗎啦。咁你係隨時咧可以即係搬入嚟，即係等所有法律文件啊、交收啊過程成個完結咗之後咧，你係隨時可以搬入嚟嘅。咁嗰個時間上咧就會安排得好啲，係啦。咁好啦，咁揀啱地點啦，揀啱即係想買咩類型嘅屋啦，咁就可以去預約睇樓咯喎。咁咧睇樓睇完樓，咁如果睇緊間屋你係即係覺得好滿意喎，咁你就會出價啦，係啦。我哋喺英國咧就會話，我哋落個 offer 俾個 agent 嘅意思，即係話你願意出幾多去買呢間屋。咁 before 出價之前咧，咁其實我哋公司咧都會幫客人咧去做一個即係簡單嘅估價，睇下嗰間屋咧其實市場上係即係其實係估緊幾多錢。簡單啲嚟講就係佢個業主有冇 mark 高咗個價咁樣。咁通常我哋即係俾完個 valuation 嘅意見你哋之後啦，咁你哋就真係出一個價俾個業主啦咁樣。咁另外咧就都會有個議價嘅空間嘅喺英國買樓。咁譬如你嗰個物業啦係50萬英鎊咁為例啦，係啦50萬英鎊。咁可能你係一個 cash buyer 有啲優勢，咁就可能出低少少咁樣啦，睇下個業主個即係試下佢嘅水溫啦。咁可能你出48萬英鎊咁樣，咁個業主咧有可能咧佢會即係counter propose 翻啦，佢覺得48萬咧真係太少咯喎，你可唔可以出多少少啊？因為佢都 ask for 50啦，咁你可唔可以出大概可能49萬英鎊啊咁樣，咁就會中間會有少少嘅議價嘅空間咯，係啦。咁有啲業主都好企硬嘅，就話唔得，我一定要收呢個即係最少收我 ask for 嗰個價錢咁樣。咁另外一個咧可以議價嘅位咧，就係當你做完嗰個 survey 之後，咁其實呢個 survey 咧，咁佢有一個好詳細嘅報告俾翻你啦。咁個 report 入邊咧，其實咧佢都會話翻俾你聽，依間屋咧其實有啲乜嘢嘅地方咧，可能需要建議你去維修嘅。咁佢建議你維修咧，每一個項目咧，佢都可能有一個大概嘅維修嘅價錢，即係需要幾多錢去維修呢樣嘢嘅。咁如果你睇完呢個 report 之後咧，其實咧你係可以咧同個 agent 咧去商議下啦，睇下個業主有2個做法啦，一係叫個業主維修好啦，先至交翻間屋俾你。如果唔係嘅，有啲業主佢覺得即係有啲業主佢覺得OK，我執好我先俾你啦。咁但係有啲業主可能佢費事麻煩啦，佢就話不如我喺個屋價度減翻少少錢俾你啦，咁樣咁你自己去執翻去啦，咁樣咁所以呢個位咧都係有少少咧議價嘅即係機會咁樣咯。 咁好啦，咁如果個業主佢真係接受咗你個價錢，佢好想佢confirm 咗買間屋俾你啦，咁下一步咧就需要係提供律師嘅資料㗎啦。咁無論買家賣家都好啦，都需要提供即係雙方律師嘅資料。點解咧？就係因為咧，其實咧提供咗個 agent 咧，佢係需要買家同賣家提供雙方律師嘅資料咧，佢會咧做一份咧叫做memorandum of sales。咁呢樣嘢咧就係一個初步嘅文件啦，去確認咗即係呢個交易即係大家即係agree 咗呢個交易㗎啦。咁雙方嘅律師咧就會係大家開始去溝通，去做後邊嘅後期工作啦咁樣。咁揾律師啦，咁其實最主要咧就係最開始就係究竟我揾一個廣東話嘅律師啊，定係講一個即係英語嘅律師咧咁樣。咁呢個就即係視乎每個人嗰個即係喜好啦咁樣。咁其實我哋公司咧，咁我哋都拍開一個講廣東話嘅律師嘅。咁如果有需要咧，亦都可以即係揾我哋去幫手啦咁樣。咁至於好啦，咁樣揾完律師咯喎，咁律師咧通常咧都會話翻俾你聽佢個服務嘅內容係啲乜嘢啦，係啦，會包咗啲乜嘢嘅服務啦。咁另外佢會有一個詳細嘅報價俾翻你嘅。咁入邊咧有唔同嘅 breakdown 啦，唔同嘅細項啦，話翻俾你聽每一個即係個即係收費係點樣啦咁樣。咁佢通常咧都會係有啲譬如 search 嘅收費啦。個 search 係啲咩咧？就係話個律師咧，其實咧佢會幫你揾好多資料嘅。佢通常咧就會聯絡 counsel 啦，佢會揾翻 counsel 問翻你個物業一啲 history，一啲過往嘅記錄，譬如你個物業有冇做過 conversion 啦，有冇做過 extension 啦，嗰個即係啦。咁另外佢亦都會揾翻個 land registry 啦，去睇翻呢個物業即係好似香港嘅土地註冊處咁樣啦，去睇翻你個物業嗰個 history 啦，之前嗰個業主啦，佢亦都會睇翻即係呢一個物業嗰個即係嘅用途又會唔會有機會水浸好多嘢嘅，係啦，律師幫你做好多嘢。咁另外咧就係如果你需要做 mortgage 嘅話咧，佢有可能律師咧都會收，因為佢律師都會同個 mortgage 嗰間公司咧去聯絡有啲文件上嘅嘢要做啦，咁佢亦都會可能收取翻一個少量嘅mortgage fee 咁樣嘅。咁所以咧個報價咧就會有即係涉及有好多唔同嘅細項啦。咁當然啦，律師最終嘅職責就係要幫你 check 翻晒所有關於間屋嘅文件啦、合法性各方面咁樣啦。咁佢會審批，即係幫你審批好多唔同嘅資料咁樣嘅。咁好啦，揾完律師啦，咁下一步咧，咁我哋咧就可以咧去揾一個 surveyor 去做一個檢測啦。咁喺英國咧，通常咧我哋咧都會為一個合資格嘅測量師啦。咁我哋通常咧就做一個 RICS 嘅 survey。係啦，咁 RICS 係咩咧？咁佢就係一個 Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors。咁簡單啲嚟講咧，就係一個即係世界認可噶啦，一個註冊嘅機構，咁佢有一個即係註冊嘅測量師啦，去幫你去驗樓嘅。咁所以我哋通常揾嘅咧就 make sure 佢係真係 under 呢一個 RICS 嘅機構啦，認可嘅公司啦嘅測量師啦。咁我哋就即係去做一個即係合法即係一個適當嘅檢測咁樣啦。咁講翻嗰個survey啦，咁其實新樓咧同舊樓咧做個 survey 有少少唔同嘅。譬如新樓咁先算啦，咁好似香港咁樣買新屋，咁你都會即係check 下間屋驗下樓有冇啲嘢要執漏咁。咁其實咧，如果喺英國買屋咧，其實咧都會咧，如果買新樓咧，我哋都通常咧就會做一個叫做 snagging report。咁佢通常就好似香港咁樣啦，即係真係幫你每一間房去驗晒如果有啲咩問題咁佢就會即係寫翻個報告俾你啦，咁就去同發展商去即係 follow up，去叫佢執翻間屋咁樣啦。咁如果買舊樓嘅話咧，咁咧通常咧就會即係做我哋叫做做一個即係唔同嘅 level 嘅 survey。咁佢通常咧會分咗 one two three 三個唔同嘅 level 嘅。係啦，咁一係最簡單啦，咁二係中間啦，三就係最即係最 detail 啦，去最詳細嘅報告咁樣嘅。咁當然個價錢都會有 分別啦，係啦。咁通常咧，除咗做測量之後咧，之外咧，咁其實咧你都可以咧，叫個測量嗰間公司咧幫你做一個估價，做一個 valuation 嘅，睇下你個物業，佢會做一個比較詳細啲嘅估價啦，睇翻你個物業係咪真係即係嗰個而家個市值係幾多咁樣啦，係啦。咁好啦，咁當譬如去到揾咗律師啦，做晒 survey 啦，冇問題之後咧，咁其實咧大家咧都會去確定一個咧交換你嗰個合約啊嗰個日期嘅。係啦，咁通常買家同賣家啦都會大家去即係 align 一個日期去交換你嗰個合同啦，我哋叫做 exchange of contract 啦咁。咁通常咧亦都會咧確認翻一個咧 completion date，即係幾時呢個交易係真係完成嘅咁樣。咁通常咧就會話大家 confirm 咗一個 exchange of contract 嘅日子之後咧，通常咧一兩個禮拜內咧都會係即係align 埋嗰個completion day 㗎啦。咁就會係即係成個過程都係即係個律師啦，佢會到時咧佢會問翻你，你想幾時去交易啊？你想幾時去 complete 啊？咁樣嘅。咁提多少少啦。如果譬如通常咧喺exchange 之前咧，律師咧都會提翻你。你需要預備你嘅資金幾時 ready 去入翻去你嗰個律師嘅 account 嗰度嘅。咁個律師收咗你啲錢之後咧，咁佢先咧check 過冇問題啦，咁佢就會咧去俾對方嘅律師，咁就再交翻俾個買家咁樣。咁所以咧到時咧嗰個律師咧佢就會或者。你可以同個律師問翻啊，你需要大概幾時要安排調動好嗰個資金啊咁樣啦，係啦，因為我知道而家譬如啲息口比較高啦，咁好多香港人佢哋都做定期嘅，咁有時可能又要計翻究竟我定期幾時完啊？我做幾一個月、兩個月定係3個月嘅定期好啊？咁所以咧之前咧可以同個律師去傾翻呢樣嘢咯，係啦。咁好啦，如果完全冇問題啦，成個過程順利交易咗咧，咁當然可以即係收鎖匙去入住啦，咁樣。咁就通常咧就係交易 completion 嗰日係啦，通常係 completion 嗰日，咁你嘅agent 咧同埋你嘅律師咧，你個律師會通知你㗎啦，即係成個交易已經完成啦，你可以。聯絡你嘅 agent 去攞鎖匙，咁到時你就即係打電話約翻個 agent 啦，咁就同佢講話哦，幾時嚟攞鎖匙，咁就隨時可以即係入屋去入住啊咁樣噶啦。咁最後啦，咁如果譬如之前所講啦，如果用我哋公司嘅買屋個服務咧，咁其實我哋會提供2個星期嘅支援俾大家嘅。咁通常我哋最除咗2個星期，即係如果你入咗去住2個星期後有啲咩問題咧，咁隨時即係揾我哋啦。咁其實之前咧，我哋咧都會幫你協助登記咧水電煤啦、council tax 啦，即係寬頻啊、上網啊，亦都可以預先登記啦。咁另外一啲額外服務就係如果譬如你未到英國嘅個人未到英國嘅，仲喺香港嘅，咁我哋可以幫你即係安排呢個surveyor 啦，做呢個 survey 啦，幫你代收鎖匙啦，代收家私啊、電器啊等等。咁呢個咧亦都係如果有需要咧，亦都可以揾我哋幫手咁樣嘅。咁講翻啦，我哋 HK UK support 咧，咁其實咧，我哋嘅團隊咧，咁有英國即係我哋本地嘅同事啦，亦都有一班我哋香港嘅同事啦。咁所以咧，其實咧，我哋係即係可以提供即係廣東話嘅服務啦。咁就即係唔需要擔心話一啲即係英文上溝通有問題啊，或者一啲即係文件上比較複雜啊咁。咁我哋絕對係可以即係用廣東話可以即係去溝通啦。咁另外就係話我哋就可以提供一啲唔同嘅支援俾大家啦，無論係稅務上啊、按揭上啊、律師啊各方面啊、學校啊等等啦。咁同埋我哋都同一啲新一啲發展商合作啦。咁呢啲啦，係啦，即係而家見到嗰啲啦，咁其實都係喺英國咧好大嘅唔同嘅發展商啦。咁我哋其實同佢去合作都有一段時間嘅啦。咁如果譬如經我哋買一啲新嘅新樓咧，咁我哋咧亦都會係可以即係 爭取到一啲最好嘅優惠啦，譬如 say 可能去會唔會係免費可以 upgrade 到你個廚房嘅裝修啊？有啲屋其實佢新屋咧，佢雖然話新即係所有嘢都包啦，咁但係有可能咧未必包地啊或者草地啊、地氈啊嗰啲嘅。咁我哋都仲可能咧，如果可以嘅話咧，我哋會爭取可唔可以譬如如果真係冇地嘅。咁會唔會可以即係送翻個地板啊，或者一啲地氈啊咁樣甚至乎譬如 garden 冇草地嘅，咁可唔可以即係都送翻個草地啊咁樣啦？咁另外就係一啲折扣上嘅回贈啦，咁又視乎嗰個即係發展商唔同嘅發展商啦，有唔同嘅優惠啦，即係睇下佢有啲乜嘢可以去offer 到俾我哋啦，咁我哋就盡量去同我哋嘅客人去爭取咯。OK，all right，so 嗱，我今日我個 part 咧就大致上係咁多，咁我哋稍後咧有個 Q&A session 嘅，咁但係 Q&A session 之前咧，咁咧我就想邀請我哋今日嗰個嘉賓啦 Rebecca，咁去同我哋講一講咧即係英國嘅 mortgage 嘅資訊俾大家嘅。All right，Rebecca，yeah，I just finished my part, so we are very happy to have you here to give us some introduction about the mortgage service in the UK. Yeah, shall we start now?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so let me stop sharing my screen. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, fantastic. What I'm going to do is, as I go through this, obviously I'll send Winnie a copy afterwards, and then she can, we can put it into a PDF if people want a copy of what I've said during the meeting, or they missed anything. And what I'll also do is from the previous webinar, I'll add that one together. So I'll put it together as one PDF. So both the questions from this one and the previous webinar are together on one PDF for anyone who wants to request it after the webinar.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Okay. So there was a couple of questions I was asked to answer today. So I'll go through the questions. After we've gone through the questions, ask me questions and hopefully I can answer them for you, anything you want to know. The number one thing people were asking was, what is the criteria of getting a mortgage in the UK? So you've arrived in the UK, how are you going to get a mortgage? We work on a few different areas. The first thing is credit score. We've got income, obviously the size of the deposit, the type of the property, your age, and your documentation. So they're the 6 different things that we look at. Your credit score, I'll go into one of the questions is how do I get a credit score? So I will cover that off today and let everyone know. But it's obviously the lender is going to look to see what credit score you have. Now, the longer you've been here, the better your credit score should be. And with your credit score as well, the difference is that it's going to be the bigger your deposit, the less your credit score has to be great. So it's a balancing act between those two. Then with the income, what will happen is we need to verify your income. Now, I do have some people from Hong Kong who have businesses in Hong Kong still. And they have income in Hong Kong dollars where they're bringing it over from their business in Hong Kong and getting paid in the UK. And I'm asked quite a lot, can I use that income? The answer is yes. If you're paid in Hong Kong dollars, we can still use that in the UK. The way it works is we would convert it from Hong Kong dollars to pounds. And then the majority of lenders will take £25,000, 25% off that. So, for example, if you earned the equivalent of £10,000 in the UK, the lender will only take your income as £7,500 to allow for fluctuation in the exchange rate. When it comes to income, it's a little bit different. If you're employed in the UK, it's very simple. It's just pay slips. If you have a basic salary, you don't get any overtime or any shift allowances. Just whatever you earn is what you earn each month. Then we would take that as your income and we would just need 1 month's pay slip. If you get overtime bonuses, then we need 3 months income. If you come to the UK and you become self-employed and you start your own business, you do have to wait a while before you can get a mortgage based on that income. It is a minimum of 1 year's full accounts. So realistically, you would be in the UK and have your business up and running for 18 months before you could get a mortgage. When it comes to deposits, if you are looking to buy a house as soon as you get to the UK as quickly as possible, and you've got jobs we can allow to get the income affordable, you would need to have a 25% deposit if you're buying a house within the first year. If you're buying a house after the first year of living in the UK, we can then take a lower deposit from you. Then you can look at 10% deposits for the property. Now, your deposit, that's how it's going to affect you. The longer you're here, the smaller the deposit gets, but that is the general rule, that it's 25% if it's less than 1 year, and 10% if it's more than a year is the smallest deposit size we can take. When with your property in the UK, now obviously in Hong Kong, what you classify as an old property is very different to what we classify as an old property in the UK. Here we like to buy houses that are 100 years old, 200 years old, and think it's great. I know people from Hong Kong are in horror at the thought of buying a house 100 years old. But in the UK, but we have different rules in place with mortgages for if it's 100 years old or if it's a new property. It's actually stricter criteria if you buy a new build property. So then if it's a second-hand property in the UK. So it's just something to take into account, as well as if you're buying a flat or a property where you only own the house but you don't own the land, it's called leasehold. Then there's different, you can't borrow as much on those because of the additional costs involved in leasehold and owning a flat. With ages in the UK, we can get a mortgage as young as 18, and you can take a residential mortgage to the maximum age of 75. As long as you're within those ages, we're okay. The oldest age you can take a residential mortgage is the age of 70, because with the shortest term we can take a mortgage of is 5 years. So you need to have those 5 years left until 75. And when applying for a mortgage, your documents you're going to need are quite simple. It's going to be proof of income, proof of who you are, which is your passport, and proof of address, which could be like a bank statement or a utility bill less than 3 months old. And then if you have any debts, we would need proof of those debts. They're the basic documents that you would need to get a mortgage. And that is the criteria for getting a mortgage in the UK. Okay. How much you can borrow in the UK? The maximum multiplication, if you take your total household income, so if it's single person, obviously just your income. If there's you and a partner, then it's together. It is 5.5 times your total household income. That is the maximum borrowing you can get. The average multiplications is 4.5 times your household salary. Lots of different factors to take into account. But the big thing to be aware of is if you can't afford the house and you're saying to the lender, how can I get more money? I'm really close and maybe just need £10,000 more. Then at that point, you would need to tie in for a 5-year fixed rate for your mortgage. So that would dramatically increase the deposit. Winnie, do you want to translate any of this, or do you want me to just keep going?
Yeah, I think you can keep going because
Okay.
I will have the Q&A session and 如果其他人有啲咩問題咧，中間咧你可以係留言俾我哋嘅，係啦。咁稍後咧，我係即係好快咁樣咧去即係講解一下Rebecca 即係個內容係啲乜嘢啦。咁但係如果之後你哋有啲咩問題啊，或者而家諗到有啲咩問題，你隨時可以喺嗰個message 嗰度留言俾我哋，咁我哋稍後咧就逐一回答咁樣。Okay, thank you. Yeah, let's keep.
That's fine. Okay, so then the other question is, what is a credit check? A credit check is just where the lender will check your credit worthiness. So, you know, can you afford it? Have you got missed payments? What's happening with your credit report? Now, when you get to the UK, we have three main credit agencies. We've got TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. There is one company called checkmyfile.com. Checkmyfile is the only agency out there that will use all three credit agencies at the same time to show your credit report on all of them. When you get to the UK, the really big important thing is to build up your credit rate reference, credit agency. So things you can do, make sure that you are registered with all your utility bills. So if you're renting a house, if it's got all the utility bills included, you're not going to build up your credit score as quickly as if you rent a house and then you pay for the bills yourself. Things like gas, electricity, water will go on your credit file. The other thing to do is if you are able to vote, register yourself on the electoral roll. You do not have to legally vote in the UK, but just being registered on the electoral roll and being able to vote increases your credit score. And then the other thing is when you go to your bank and you open up your bank account when you first get to the UK, if they turn around and say to you, do you want an overdraft? Do you want a credit card? And they offer you that facility, you may not want to use credit. You do not have to use the credit, but say yes and accept that credit card. By having a credit card, it gives you the facility to build up your credit score quicker. Okay. And then the people will ask, well, why do I need a mortgage broker? I can go to a bank, I can get it myself. The difference is obviously it's time consuming to go to a lot of lenders. We've got a different understanding of what's happening in the market, so we can talk to you about the complexities of what's happening in the market and everything like that. At specialized advice. The big thing is what's happening in the market at the moment is the mortgage rates are dropping. As the mortgage rates drop, we can then reduce your mortgage rate for you before you move into that house, which could save you money. We can assist you with the entire process. So if you're sitting at home going, I don't know what this surveyor is talking about, I don't know what this solicitor is talking about, you can come back to your mortgage broker and we'll sit down and we'll talk about it and explain it and help you through everything. So we're there for every single element. We're the one point of contact for you, for your estate agents, your surveyors, your solicitors. You can come back to ourselves as a mortgage broker and we can talk and discuss that with you. We can help you say the right things to the lender, which is a really big point, because if you go to your lender directly and you say the wrong thing, they will just accept that. And you can't say, oh, I didn't mean to say that. They will just accept it. Your mortgage broker you tell your mortgage broker whatever the truth is, and they will tell you the correct way to present that to the lender. To make sure you get approved. Okay.
That's very important, right?
Very important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I used to work for a lender, and we had people that would tell us that they spent £300 on haircuts a month, and then we would say, well, we can't afford the mortgage now. Whereas if you tell your broker you spend £300 on haircuts, they will say, let's just reduce it a little bit. And so that is the big thing. Okay. We're fully regulated. We have the whole of the market. We've got over 100 different lenders, and we also offer how we have a range of products that are not available if you don't go directly to the bank. Okay. And then the final thing before we go to the Q&A is just what is the difference between if you're getting a mortgage in while you still live in Hong Kong, or if you get a mortgage while you move to the UK. The main difference is cost. In all honesty, so if you apply for a mortgage and you're still in Hong Kong and you want to buy in the UK, it is more expensive. And on average, you're looking about 1% interest just on the rate itself. So if in the UK the rate is 4%, the overseas rate would be 5% on average. It's about 1% more. On top of that, the fees involved are much higher. You pay between £1,000 and £5,000 arrangement fee if you're buying a mortgage when you're still in Hong Kong. If you're in the UK, you're paying maybe £1,000 up to it, but most of the time it's going to be zero. So it is going to be to do with fees. The difference as well is the application process. Is they're going to look at your Hong Kong credit score, they're going to look at your Hong Kong income, they're going to look at every cost there. Whereas over here, when we can't see your foreign credit score, we can't see your foreign costs, we can't see anything like that. So it works out a lot cheaper, but and the rates are a lot higher. So it's just whether or not you want to pay that additional costs. Depends on what you think is going to happen to the market and whether you feel that the costs are worth it so that you have a house straight away when you move over.
All right.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
Okay. Maybe I briefly translate what you have said.
Yeah, no problem.
OK， 咁嗱，我好快咁樣概括講一講Rebecca 正話所講，即係幾個重點俾大家啦。咁第一咧就係話你嗰個 deposit， 即係話你個首期啦，係啦，你嗰個首期咧，其實咧正話 Rebecca 所講啦，如果你喺英國居住少過1年嘅咧，咁佢好大機會啦，就係需要你25% of 你嘅樓價做嘅首期。係啦，咁所以咧就你要因應翻你自己喺英國住咗幾耐啦。咁當然啦 ，case by case 每個 lender 即係每間銀行佢哋嘅要求，你哋個首期要幾多個 percent 咧，都會有所不同嘅。咁但係咧如果真係啱啱嚟到英國少過1年嘅咧，咁最好咧即係 at least 啦，就預備有最少有25% of 你嘅樓價嘅首期啦，係啦。咁另外一個咧就係話你哋嗰個借到幾多錢嗰個可以能夠借到幾多錢咧，就係正話Rebecca 所講啦，就係4.5至5.5倍 of 你個全年嘅人工收入，係啦。咁呢個係係稅前嘅，係啦，稅前嘅。咁所以咧，其實有係啦，即係4.5至5.5不等啦。佢要視乎可能你嘅工種啊，你嗰個入息係咪真係好穩定啊，同埋即係每一個機構佢哋嗰個即係審批嗰個要求亦都會不一樣啦，咁樣。咁另外就係話嗰個 credit score 點樣去我哋即係我哋嗰個信貸嗰個評分啊，因為我哋啱啱即係初嚟報到，咁我哋就冇一啲即係佢哋嗰個即係credit score 啦。咁點樣有辦法可以真係去提升你哋嗰個credit score 咧？就係第一就係話做選民啦，登記做選民啦，係啦。咁因為登記做選民咧，你自動咧，你嘅 credit score 會提升啦。咁第二嘅咧就係話你哋譬如平時譬如而家租緊屋啦，交緊水電煤嗰啲費用啦，最好咧就係用一個銀行直接過數一個 direct debit 嘅，因為咁樣咧佢咧你有一個定期嘅支出，你係可以即係佢會視為你係即係一個定期可以俾到依啲譬如租金依啲水電煤嘅費用咧，佢會覺得你一個咧係好 stable 嘅收入啦，可以俾到依樣即係依個租金啦。咁就係咧，如果你係盡可能咧都用一個銀行轉帳嘅方式，咁而依樣嘢咧亦都可以提升你哋嘅 credit score 嘅。咁另外咧就係話有啲朋友而家可能身在香港，咁佢哋可能會問啦，如果我即係我 keep 住可能香港繼續做嘢但係我就預先喺英國買定層樓咁如果我做按揭嘅話，咁會唔會有啲額外嘅費用我係需要去即係同local，譬如已經係移居咗嚟英國嘅人有啲咩唔同咧咁樣？咁喺嗰個 interest rate 上面啦，如果你係身在香港嘅話咧，基本上咧嗰啲 lender 咧喺嗰個佢 offer 俾你嗰個interest rate 啦，嗰個利率嗰度咧，佢係會高過比你已經住喺英國嘅居民咧係會高啲嘅，高大概1%。譬如 say for example，如果你喺英國，你係嘅香港人啦，你可以借到譬如 say 5年嘅按揭，佢係俾你4.5% 呢個利率咧，喺香港咧，如果你係身在香港用你香港人工咧，佢可能咧會收多你1%，變做5.5%嘅。咁呢個第一樣嘢啦，第二樣嘢咧就係話佢哋咧有可能咧會收取如果你身在香港啦，佢可能會收多你少少費用嘅大概1000英鎊至5000英鎊不等啦，係啦。咁如果你話我已經喺英國㗎啦，咁申請 mortgage 需唔需要俾咧？基本上咧都要 有啲咧係可能唔需要俾嘅，咁但係咧有啲俾咧其實都唔係太多，都係大概1000英鎊左右，作為可能一啲佢要 check 翻你間屋，可能幫你做翻嗰個valuation 啦，去即係去佢會酌量收翻少少錢咁樣咯。咁但係就係如果喺香港朋友仔咧，就要需要即係喺個利息上面啦，要預多少少啦，咁同埋嗰個收費嗰度啦，都會需要預多少少咁樣咯。OK。